This is Don't Panic, episode number 206, recorded June 18th, 2018, Scooter Town. Hello, everybody. Welcome to this episode of Don't Panic, the technology podcast on gadgets, the internet, and you. I'm Sean Jennings, joined, as always, by a man who heard it through the grapevine. It is Dan Miller. Hello, Dan.
What's up?
It is a thrill to be back. We were not here last week.
Oh, I guess just last week. I wasn't here.
You weren't here the week before, so it's been quite a while. We need our fix of Mr. Miller.
I went to Portland, Oregon.
Oh, I was going to say, the good one?
I liked both. I did like Portland, Oregon better, though. And I liked Portland, Maine, so that was tough.
It exceeded your expectations.
Yeah. Fun things I did in Portland. Thursday, I went to I went to 6 breweries on Thursday, all told. In 2 sets. I walked between 4 of them in less than 10 minutes, and I walked between the other 2 in less than 10 minutes. There are so many, like, it's one of those things you hear, like, New York's really crowded, and Boston, the streets are crazy. In Portland, there's a lot of breweries, and you think when you hear, okay, like, how true can that be?
Mm-hmm.
Probably only true in like certain areas or whatever. No, there's so many breweries. One brewery I went to is just a garage with some picnic tables outside.
So you just basically had a beer at a dude's house?
Yeah.
That's pretty sweet.
So, yeah, Thursday I read the book that I'm going to recommend to you at the end of the show and got like 2 half pours of beer at each brewery, and then I just went to sleep, and it was fantastic.
That sounds like a dream. Now the question is, you got all those breweries, was the beer good? Because at that quantity of breweries, they can't all be good.
I was curating. I went to all good ones, I would say. One stood out from all the others in terms of the quality of the beer, and it was Cascade, which is... They only do sour beers.
Okay.
But the sour beers... Have you ever had sour beers?
A little bit.
The sour beers that I've had on the East Coast are like... They kind of look like IPAs in terms of like their color, and they're kind of tart. Like they are sour, but there was something about these beers where they were like, deep reds, and they had the consistency of more like wine, and they were still sour, but they just drank a lot more smoothly. That stood out for me because they had like a nice focus, so it was easy to go and. Oh, I understand what I'm supposed to do here. It's not like you have 15 beers on tap of every possible kind. Like, how am I supposed to know which one to try?
Well, and in a crowded market like that, it's good for each brewery to kind of have their niche in their area, and that way there's not as much overlap.
Right. I did go to a brewery that was, I don't know, high adventure themed, and they had a porter with a toasted marshmallow in the beer.
Oh, that sounds
kind
disgusting.
Kind of like a cocktail accoutrement. It was good. Yeah, that was fun. I went on a hike. From downtown Portland, you can walk for about 35 minutes to this giant municipal park called, very creatively, Forest Park.
Apt.
And it's huge. It's the biggest municipal park in the United States. Fun fact. And yeah, there's like Japanese garden section. There's an arboretum. There's a mansion. So that was fun. Had some excellent food. So yeah, my week off was good.
Well, and I will say to anyone out there, if you get the opportunity to travel with Dan, you take it, because Dan is a absolute pro at crafting a very pleasant trip experience.
I try to make it pleasant. It can't be too fun.
Put it this way. Dan came and visited me at my house, and I made him do all the planning because I said, I cannot... Dan, you're going to pick the restaurants and you're going to pick the breweries because I want nothing to do with the planning of this, and knocked it out of the park.
The only thing I messed up was not getting Indian food, right?
I thought all the food we had was fine. So
it was good, but didn't you tell me that it is known for its regional Indian food, Houston?
I probably said that, yeah. I mean, it's one of those places where just about any ethnicity you can find really good food.
Yeah.
Like, there's a whole, like, little Vietnam where you can get, like, crazy Vietnamese food, and, like, because it's such a multicultural town.
That's my one regret. But yeah, fun trip.
Yeah, yeah. So Portland survived you.
Yes.
Lucky them, and now you're back in the big
Um,
city.
yeah, I only had. Let's see. I didn't have any really weird technology things happen, but it's always fun to complain about airports. I got pulled over by TSA into the room both times because I was wearing the same pants, sweatpants.
Suspicious. Baggy.
Sweatpants.
Easy to hide weapons
That
in.
was my thought, but as I've been telling people this, they have said like, "Oh, did they have zippered pockets?" And I was like, "Oh yeah." They're like, "Oh yeah, no, you can't do that." It's like, but I have jeans that have zippered like crotch area. Isn't that the same thing, just on two sides? So I guess I'll just wear jeans from now on.
Dan, I'm also
Uh,
disappointed they don't find your crotch dangerous. I think wearing zippered sweatpants is actually that's like the perfect travel wear because it's comfortable and secure. Like I
that's what
got
I
your
thought.
back.
That's what I was
I
thinking.
agree. Shame on them.
Plus, it's often cold on airplanes, even if you're going to like a warm destination,
Oh,
which I
for
wasn't.
sure.
But
Oh, planes are horribly uncomfortable.
yeah, yep. Netflix download to your device on Netflix. Game changer.
Oh, fantastic! I'm blown away. Hulu hasn't done it yet. It tried because you
Yeah,
can do it
even
with Amazon.
Amazon Prime was the one who had it first. I
Yep.
remember that was the big reason that you would use Amazon Prime for
Yep.
me at least.
Yeah. No, it was. I used it on flights all the time. It's great.
Yes, and I think that's it.
Fair
Back
enough.
in New York for 1 week of fall and 1 week of high summer, and then I'm back to the West Coast next week.
Yeah.
Sorry.
World travel. Well, you know how it is in the summer. Everybody is out and about. It's the
Yeah.
time to go places. So our own Colby, obviously not here this evening. He's traveling internationally. Should be back next week. Hopefully, I'll have some fun reports.
We don't want to compromise his OPSEC, but
No,
it's exactly
no. Let's just say he's in Europe. Wink, and leave it at that. But he will return.
Cool. Well, what crazy tech news happened last week?
Oh my goodness,
I wasn't really paying attention.
Dan.
Except for one thing.
There was some of it.
Uh-huh.
I don't know how much of it I would consider to be super exciting. I guess we'll be the judge. Before we get in, Dan, I'll let you pick our first story. While you're doing that, I'll thank everybody out there who's joining us live this Monday evening on Twitch at twitch.tv/don'tpanicshow and on Facebook at facebook.com/don'tpanicshow. If you're watching live, comment in the Twitch chat or comment on Facebook. We might talk about it on the show. If you would like to join us Monday nights, roughly 10 p.m. Eastern, on those respective sites. Dan, where are we going to start?
Let's start with scooters.
Toot toot scooters.
Yes.
I know you're a big scooter fan, Dan, and good news to you. Both Uber and Lyft are looking into operating e-scooters. Now, I'm curious if you've seen
Oh,
these
that's what
around.
they're called? E-scooters?
That's what this article calls them. Lord knows I
Oh,
wouldn't
my
call them that.
Goodness. Is it like e-cigs? What's the relationship between an e-cig and an e-scooter?
But, well, it's confusing, I guess, because like, an e-cig
And
versus
email.
a cigarette.
So like there's email,
It's
e-cigs, and
electronic.
e-scooters.
E is electronic, but there already
see.
are electric. The idea of an electric scooter isn't new. The idea that you would kind of rent them and they'd be in like, caddies where you could go and grab one, that's new. But the fact that they're electric isn't new. So I call BS on that. But
Okay.
both Lyft and Uber are applying for permits for electric scooters in San Francisco to be added to their fleets alongside ride-sharing cars and bikes. Lyft is reportedly in talks to buy a bike-sharing company. Uber has already purchased a bike-sharing company. They want to add scooters to that. San Francisco announced new regulations for scooters at the end of May. They win permits that allow a 12-month pilot program. Other companies are doing this around the world, and there are other companies even in San Francisco, 10 others in fact, who have applied with such great names like Bird, Spin, Lime, and Scoot. God, I love startups. And San Francisco will only be granting 5 permits. They will determine the winners in late June. Now, Dan, where I live, electric scooter is really not going to cut it. I gotta drive on a highway to work every day. I think I'd get killed in an electric.
Well, you
scooter.
know what they say, Sean. It's all about the last mile.
But that's a fair point, Dan. So let me ask you: are you a fan of e-scooters?
No, but I've never. Well, I'm a I'm a fan of them. Ironically, I think they're hilarious.
I like
But
that.
in fairness, I've never had the opportunity to try one, so I don't really know if I'm a fan or not. I'm not a fan of the pictures I've seen on Twitter, and I don't know if they're hyperbolic of the like rat kings of electronic scooters like floating down the streets of San Francisco like a tumbleweed. Uh, that sucks. I like my sidewalks to be wide and clear of obstruction,
Right.
which they rarely are in New York. There's trash. There's a guy just laying down there. But when they are, that's when that's my ideal state. So I don't think I would like that.
Where would you
But,
drive these?
well,
On the side? You wouldn't drive them on the side? Bike lanes?
well, people probably would, but probably I don't know what the rules in bike lanes are. That's if I was to drive one, that's where I would want to drive one.
I mean, that makes some amount of sense.
Right. I don't know what the rules
But
on bike lanes
I also
are.
feel if I were a bicyclist, I would probably not. I'd probably hate that.
Yeah, I bet you would.
But that's a good question.
It looks like in San Francisco you do use the bicycle lanes on the scooter. On the roadway, it must be operated in the bicycle lane if there is one. So what does appeal to me about this? So we have City Bike here, and it's pretty good, but it does feel like there are people who are City Bike experts. And the thing with City Bike is you go to a station, you pick up a bike, and you ride to a station and you drop it off. And so you have to know that you have to know your route. And if I could instead be like, I don't care where there's a station, I'm just going to lean my scooter up against this sign that there is, I see the appeal, but I also see all of the downsides. So what I'm saying is, I don't know if I'm a fan or not, but I really like making fun of the cities that have them.
So yeah, I mean, I don't fully understand how these scooter companies work.
Oh yeah, that was going to be my other question. So we talked about this the last time we talked about these scooters. The story of the people that are gig economied into collecting the scooters that people leave all over the place.
Yeah.
Remember this?
Yeah.
So they get these apps, and they have this like pin on the map, like there's a scooter over here, go get it. And people leave them like in rivers and all sorts of crazy stuff. And like the harder it is, the more money you get. People drive around with these vans and just throw scooters in them and charge them all up. I'm wondering now there's going to be like turf wars. The Uber, will there be like an enforcement arm? I mean, there probably already is an enforcement arm at Uber.
The secret Uber police.
Right, like the Uber expeditionary force that goes out and tries to like. Right. Will there be areas like, oh, here you have to use the Uber scooters, and if you drive one out into this area, the Lyft people are just going to take it and bring it back to the Uber area.
Is it like the shopping carts that lock the wheels when you try and take it out of the parking lot? The scooter just stops, you go flying over the handlebars?
But here's the thing, like, the reason this would be a turf war is every company is incentivized to expand their area of service because they make more money, but every other company is incentivized to not let the other company expand their area of service. So they could also pay people not to pick up their own bikes and charge them, but to pick up other people's bikes and sabotage them, actually. Why not? Take a bike that's in your area and drive it out to San Jose or something and just leave it there.
Well, this is exactly why San Francisco's only limiting it to 5 permits in the city, because they're worried about exactly what you're describing.
In 50 years, here 50 years from now, here's my next sci-fi novel. In the San Francisco exclusionary zone, after the Great War, there are 5 reigning gangs, and they're all based off of, because all the adults died, right? So only the teenagers who were the scooter getters are the people left, and they're wearing the Uber logo and the Scoot logo and everything else. So that's how they identify themselves, and they're the people who rule the city. They have all the capital. the scooters are the only thing that matter. Scooters become the new currency, even though they don't. Electricity hasn't been in San Francisco for 18 months at this point.
This is either the absolute best or absolute worst pitch for a young adult fiction novel I've ever heard. In the future, the currency is scooters. A sexy young woman and a hot young man fall in love, but then there's a third guy. It's a love triangle. The kids will love it. Then there's a big battle at the end. Then there's like the big government, and there's the big government bad guy.
We have to be careful, though, because it sounds like what you're describing is Hunger Games. We have to be careful. We got to be a little bit different.
Well, but to be fair, I did describe the Hunger Games and Maze Runner and Divergent and about 8 others.
Yeah.
So just hey, the formula works. Don't break it if you can't.
I would like to put a spin on it, at least. You keep
Scooters.
the formula.
Scooters is the spin. Because people will be so goddamn confused.
And this is right. We can get the ad money from all those companies right now.
Product placement.
Placements.
I like that. Because I'm sure they'll want their products associated with a dystopian future.
Hey, listen. All publicity is good publicity.
Yep. I like it. That's good. No, hey, look. In back in reality, the more I think about this idea, it's so bizarre to me that you're right. We're gonna live in this society where everyone's just gonna be leaving scooters fucking everywhere, and then like, how do you even make money? You have to pay somebody to go get the scooter, and then they go put the scooters, and then someone comes gets the scooter. Like, how does this even make money?
Let me tell you how this is gonna work, Sean. Bitcoin. You got.
Sorry. You just threw me for such a loop. I'm sorry. That was like the most hilarious but also realistic thing you could have said. Right?
Every scooter comes with a Bitcoin miner on it. So while you have it plugged into charge, you are also mining Bitcoins, not for yourself.
No, of course
right? No, because the company's going to pay you to get the thing, but they're subsidizing your pay with the crypto mining that they're going to be doing on that scooter.
You know, Dan, there are some days where I feel very optimistic about the future, and then there are days like today where, as you describe these things to me, I'm like, God damn it. This is the future.
We're already in that, not post-apocalyptic, dystopian, there we go. It's already pretty dystopian. We got Blood Boys. Then right outside of San Francisco, where the 5 scooter gangs reign, there's going to be actual Mad Max Blood Boys on the front of all-electric Teslas just barreling down the highway.
Can you imagine the all-electric version of Mad Max? Good Lord, what garbage is that? Oh my God.
It would not be nearly as cool. It would
certainly be quieter.
Well, but I bet that, remember from Mad Max, they had the guitar guy suspended with all the amps behind him? That would just be simulating car sounds. There would be no music anymore.
Yes, for safety reasons.
So you know it's coming.
Yeah. I will say Zach in the Twitch chat, thank you, Zach, says, the profit is in the people that pick up the scooters, charge them at their house using their own electricity. God, these people are evil.
And they don't realize that they're using their electricity to do crypto mining for scooter lift.
This is so... It's kind of like when I think about, like, people who drive for Uber, and I'm like, one day I just, out of curiosity, I'm like, if I did the math in my head, if I went and bought a new car to do Uber, which some people do, that's not a crazy thing, the amount of wear and tear you put on a car driving Uber full-time over 3 years, the depreciation and the value of the car, there's no way you could make enough money driving Uber to profit on top of that. Like, it doesn't make any... Dan, how does this work? Like, I don't get the economy.
Sean, I don't want to be the one to break it to you. I don't want to be the one to break it to you, but there is no economy. It's what we call a race to the bottom.
Dan, look, we either have to do one of these bullshit startups or just, give up.
Just
be subservient.
Throw our hat in and be like, listen,
beg for mercy.
This is now a... What would we do? What would our podcast be if it wasn't this? Just you and me. Forget Colby. What could we do a podcast about that's not technology?
We have things in common other than technology, right?
Right, but we have tons of things in common. But what uniquely do we have to say about something? Hmm.
I mean, yeah.
Living room layout. I feel like people are really bad about laying out their living rooms.
I don't
This would not be a good
disagree.
podcast. This would not be a good podcast.
No, it would not be a good
But I think it's
podcast.
content that the world needs.
I think that would make a good limited YouTube series.
Mm-hmm.
It's really more of a video medium. I like that.
Right. It would be like whatever home makeover, but just for living rooms.
Just for living, I
Like,
like
listen,
that.
you've got a TV. It's
Microcasting.
this size. You've got a couch. This is how big your room is. You know, listen. Some people you got to get a smaller TV. Like that's just there's nothing wrong with that. Your room is just too small.
Yeah, but Dan, the marketer in me says all the research says millennials have no money and are moving into studio apartments that don't have living rooms because they're all poor.
Aha. Small room. But we don't. I have a lot more experience living in a small room than you do. Never mind. If anyone has any ideas about what podcast we could do,
We're desperate.
right?
We've really run out of steam on this one, so please let us know. Email us, don'tpanicshow@gmail.com.
Right. After San Francisco, the exclusionary zone is created around Silicon Valley, in 2035. What podcast can we do to sort of keep ourselves afloat after that?
Yep, when the currency is both scooters and podcasts.
Just there, like the rest of the world, we haven't talked about that yet. That's a whole.
Frankly,
podcast.
I don't want to. I can't even
That's
imagine
our
what
podcast.
horrors.
There we go. I got it.
Speculating
what
on
to do in 2035. We already know it's going to happen. It's like the McElroy brothers will be in Trolls too.
Oh,
we already.
I like
Right.
this. So there's kind of a fictional element where you and we assume we're already there. We sort of
Right.
play a bit where you and it's like, oh, it's 2035. Here are some tips for how to survive. Adult Swim just did a video short that was like this, messages from the future. It was very funny. You should go watch it. And it was like commercials and infomercials from the future. It was very amusing.
I like it. I think
So,
I think
that's a very good
we have
idea.
a lot to offer future generations.
Yeah, give them advice for the just mountain of problems they'll have that we partially created.
You know, because we created them, we're in the best position to give them advice on how to solve them.
I mean,
we were there on the ground floor.
We created the scooter wars. Now you have to end it.
That is a great tagline for a movie.
That's the
They
tagline
created
to
the
Scooter Wars.
Now you have to end them.
Summer 2019. Very nice. All right. Let's keep chugging along here.
One
in the
story
news.
down.
What's next?
Let's see. Let's keep the dystopian theme going and talk about the boring tunnel in Chicago.
Yeah, boring might not be the right word for it. It certainly is an interesting story. Elon Musk, everyone's favorite dumb rich guy, is back, and the boring company.
Elon, Marx was a capitalist. Musk.
Boy, has the fun run out on Elon Musk, huh? Remember back when it was fun? He launched a car into space.
Yeah, I guess that was kind of fun. It's hard to remember. What was that? 6 months ago?
It was this year, so yeah. It might have even been closer, like 3 months ago.
Jeez.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy. Well, we might have talked on the show before. Elon Musk's Boring Company, as he calls it, it is a tunneling business that he started to dig tunnels. And the Boring Company has won a bid to build a multi-billion-dollar high-speed express train underground to Chicago's O'Hare International Airport. It beat out a number of other bidders for the project. This project has been in the work for a while, working with the mayor and the city to build this. The company's only been around for 18 months. They've only ever dug one tunnel, a test tunnel in Los Angeles. And so there's no idea if it would ever work. So let's see here. No government funding is involved. It's entirely financed privately, which is interesting. So Musk will be paying for it. They're
going to build a tunnel and Musk's going to pay for it?
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Got it. Got it.
Yep. So it is interesting. This article does not give me enough details, so I'm going to try and find another one. But
I'm very curious how this happened. Like, right? What was the series of events that led Chicago to make this deal with Elon Musk?
it that's a really good question. While
I
I
don't.
stall to
I'm
look
not
up
saying
the
that.
answer.
I'm not saying that you can possibly know the answer to this.
Oh, I know a lot of things. No, I mean it was an open bidding process. I know they've been looking to do this for a while to build
Oh, they have.
to build some sort of transportation between the airport and the city, which I don't know if you've ever taken the blue line from O'Hare
Yes.
into the city. I didn't think it's that bad. I mean, it's not great.
No.
It seems fine. I don't know.
Better than New York. New
Um,
York, you take a train. First of all, if you can only take the train from one of the airports, and it takes an hour and a half. it's obscene.
yeah. According to this article, the existing blue line takes 40 to 45 minutes to travel the route. The Boring Company says that vehicles will leave each station as frequently as every 30 seconds, and the loop will operate 20 hours per day every day of the week. No word in here.
As quickly as what? Every 30 seconds?
It'll leave the station every 30 seconds.
That's crazy.
Yeah, no, and it's going to be like little electric pods that you get on. Concept animation showed 16 passenger cars.
How many people per pod?
16.
Oh, sorry, you just answered.
That's okay. And they're electric, zero emission, and would slide on rails. They're based on the Tesla Model X, apparently. The skates that are on the underside of the vehicle will be mechanically confined to a concrete track within the tunnel and operate under safety approvals issued by both federal and state agencies. Each vehicle would be equipped with a climate-controlled cabin, as well as storage for your luggage and Wi-Fi.
Wi-Fi. Wow.
Yep, all the Wi-Fi you can handle. It doesn't say in here...
But where does it get off? Like...
Where does it get off? Where does he get off?
Yeah. Where does it let you out? In the loop?
I believe so.
That would make sense. But that also kind of sucks because what if your destination was between the airport and the loop?
I mean, there's... we'll probably have to do more research and get back to this. I don't know if
they're not getting rid of the existing service.
Certainly not immediately.
Right. Okay, so that would solve that problem. I was hoping there would be more of a dystopian angle on this, besides Elon Musk just being a jabroni.
Well, I think the dystopian angle is going to be when it all goes horribly, horribly wrong, because he claims they're going to build this in 18 to 24 months, which is insane with technology that's never been used before ever in history. Now, I should mention that for users, the rides are expected to cost between $20 and $25. The Blue Line costs about $5 for the same trip.
Yeah. But what's the total time again?
So right now it takes 40 to 45 minutes. They're saying the Express Loop, which is what they're calling it, will take passengers 18 miles between downtown Chicago and O'Hare in about 12 minutes. So certainly a very large time. You know, it's an express line.
Worth it.
It's an express line. They claim it could travel above 120 miles per hour.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Someday I want to go to somewhere in Asia where they have real trains, you know?
I like train travel.
Real trains.
I never get to do train travel. Train travel's great when it's good. European train travel's good.
Well, sometimes it is. Colby and I had that one experience where we got stranded in Hamburg, Germany.
Yeah, there are worse places.
There are. But yeah, we also we left the let's just say we left the wrong side of the train station initially. So if anyone is planning on going to Hamburg, just when you leave the train, just head west. Do not head east. That's my advice.
I mean, that is really good advice. People should write that down.
Right. If anyone's listening, listen.
If
we're just
anyone's
trying to
listening.
we're just trying to help people here. Well, it's 2035 or your future European vacations. We're here for you.
Yeah, so we'll have to wait and see. We got a while to go on this, but I don't know, Dan. Are you optimistic?
I'm optimistic. I think, say what you will about Elon Musk, but he does do things that he's going to say he's going to do eventually. I am not optimistic that it's going to be done in 18 months. I mean, not that it took New York 50 years, more than 50 years, I think, to open any section of the Second Avenue subway.
Yeah.
So not that that's a shining example, but even building a building often goes at least like 50% over. There's an apartment near me that's just being renovated. Granted, a complete gut and sort of re-renovate. I don't know, gut and renovate deal.
Yep.
They were supposed to be done last summer. The entire time been here 2 years. It has been under construction. I think they've taken down the official construction fences sometime in the last 3 months. They went 9 months over on that.
Yep.
So
No, it's a world of construction.
Okay. Not optimistic. You know all about this.
Tell me about it. Actually, no. Roofing pretty generally is not really a delay area because it's pretty straightforward. There's not a lot of room for surprises to pop up and stuff to slow you down. So for the most part, but I mean, we're talking about an 18-mile long tunnel using technology that's never been used before.
Right, I would think that tunneling is more error-prone than building on anything else.
Well, have I told?
Who knows what's under there?
Have I told?
Did you?
Go ahead.
Sorry. Did you know? I learned this the other day. We do not know what's underneath New York City. There's no map. In order to figure out, you'd either have to dig or do sonar, deep, the stuff they use for archaeological digs.
That's awesome.
I learned this when someone was telling me about a exhibit at a museum in San Francisco that shows you a cross section of what it looks like underneath San Francisco, and there are shipwrecks under certain neighborhoods and all sorts. It's really cool.
Yeah.
And we just don't know in New York.
That's amazing.
So I don't know if they have this stuff in Chicago, because if they don't, I know they had a couple of fires there too. They might find some things that they didn't anticipate.
They might find a few mobsters.
Right, they might find something that ends up being an historical preservation site.
Yeah, no tunneling there.
Right.
Yeah. No, I don't know if I told this story on the show, but there's a great story. I won't tell the whole thing. There was I think Bloomberg Business Week did a great article on it about the tunnel they tried to build in Seattle. Their version, and they in Seattle, obviously it is an earthquake risk. And so they said, look, we can either build a surface level street or we can build a tunnel. One is very simple, cost effective, helps the community. The other is big, expensive, dangerous. They chose the tunnel. And so they built this custom, one-of-a-kind, giant tunneling rig that would pour the concrete as it went through. Yeah. No idea if it was going to work. They spent a zillion. They spent a ton of money on it. They put it down there. It went 800 feet, and then it stopped. And it was trapped underground, and they literally had to dig a giant deep hole, pull it out, fix it, and put it back. And it's been no joke. It's been years and years and years and years and years, and they still haven't finished it. And it's cost way more, and everyone's in trouble. It's this whole big thing. It's just such a bad idea sometimes to do these things.
Last I heard on Roderick on the Line, they just opened the first section of that subway in 2015. So
all right, they're getting there.
I'll report back as I make more progress and see what else I learned.
I was going to say, how old is this Roderick episode?
2015.
Okay, well, there you go. This breaking news from 2015. You heard it first.
I know I don't remember if I mentioned this, but they're starting to talk about they've made 3 or 4 salive references to the fact that Donald Trump is running for president, and I'm like, wait, how did I wanted more time. I wanted us to be like it was. Why did it have to come so fast?
Yeah, there's going to be like a good 18 to 24 months of culture, right, in that time span. That's just going to be unenjoyable.
Yeah.
What a shame.
And they're going to make all these jokes about how it's not possible. And
hey, look,
I'm considering not listening. I'm considering just stopping.
Start
over from like March 2017.
That's a good idea. I mean, there was the not famous, but I say famous, Up for Debate episode that Matt and I did previewing the election where we didn't say the words Donald Trump once. Because we didn't even think it was worth mentioning. So, people are welcome to go enjoy that. we were real up on Jeb Bush, so this is why we haven't done another. Jeb! Please clap. Please clap.
Oh man, I have thought about making that joke so many times. I'm not sure. I feel like that's one of those things you gotta wait a little bit, but I'm worried that it's gonna be leaving like the consciousness pretty soon.
How many people still remember that one?
I haven't tried. So many good opportunities for jokes, but
if only it were funny. All right, Dan. What else we got in here to talk about? We got stories for days.
Well, we talked about AT&T and Time Warner here. I thought, let's talk about that. Didn't they try to merge once before? What am I remembering?
Yeah, so of course we have talked about this on the show before. AT&T and Time Warner announced their merger quite a while ago, and the Justice Department decided to sue to block them. Well, no, okay, let me rephrase that. The Justice Department blocked the merger. They said you cannot merge; it would be anti-competitive and bad, and you cannot merge. AT&T and Time Warner took the government to court for permission to merge. The judge finally ruled this week, ruled that the merger could clear with no restrictions on the merger. They were 100% ready to go, and just a few days later, already as of this recording, Time Warner and AT&T have officially merged. Of course, Time Warner, the owner of HBO, Warner Brothers, CNN, among many others, is now under the
Time Warner
of
owns HBO?
Yes.
Didn't know that.
Time Warner owns a lot of stuff. You would really be surprised at
AOL.
The funny thing is they actually don't own AOL anymore.
That's right. That's right.
That's a big miss on their part. But they own, of course, TBS, TNT, all of the Turner stuff. They own, like I said, HBO and their associated programs, DC Comics, and the DC movies, everything Warner Brothers, of course, and even more stuff beyond that. So, so the merger is now over. It's complete. Interestingly enough, the approval by the judge of this has caused Comcast to enter the bidding war for 21st Century Fox. I don't think we've talked about this on the show. Disney originally agreed to purchase 21st Century Fox for $52.4 billion.
Oh, and people were happy because now the X-Men would be back. Right. Okay.
Yeah, ignoring all the problems with having a giant media monopoly, people were really excited about Marvel. But the reason Comcast originally didn't bid was because they thought, well, if AT&T, a telecom conglomerate, couldn't buy Time Warner, why would they let Comcast buy 21st Century Fox? But now that it's clear, Comcast says, hell, why? Let's do it. Let's throw in the money and give it a shot. So they have bid $65 billion, for 21st Century Fox to try and steal it out from under Disney, and now Fox is deciding what they want to do about it and what exactly which offer they're going to take, and Disney has to decide whether they will raise their bid. Now, 21st Century Fox is a spin-off of the News Corporation. 21st Century Fox only owns Fox Entertainment, which is the film studio, the Fox television network, and what else?
21st, wait. They do own the Fox television network?
Yes.
Amazing.
Let me see. So they own it's basically all the entertainment. It's television, Fox Broadcasting, all the channels.
But what else Fox is there? Like, isn't that everything?
No, because it's oh boy. Let's see if I can try and figure this out. Because the problem is they split off back in 2013. And I have to...
From what, though?
From the News Corporation, which was Rupert Murdoch's company.
Right.
that owned it. And so, let's see. On 25th, they announced that assets would be split into two publicly traded companies, one for media, one for publishing. News Corp's ownership would include the new News Corporation, which would own Dow Jones and Company, Wall Street Journal, publisher HarperCollins, all of that kind of stuff.
I see.
Yep. Whereas 21st Century Fox would own all of the media stuff. So there you go. So
I see.
We'll have to wait and see what happens exactly with that bid. Disney has until July 10th to make a counterbid.
Exciting.
It is
well,
something.
Let's see if our X-Men are rescued or not.
Yeah, it's really, I don't know. It's an interesting, it'll be interesting to see how they integrate. AT&T historically has never owned any content provider. At least Comcast now owns NBC currently, so they're at least already in that business. Same with Disney. About how AT&T treats media, it'll be interesting to see how that works.
Yeah. Cool.
Yep.
All right.
There's your scoop on that.
Well, let's see. Pretty soon we'll all be owned by GE.
Hey, look, if they wanted to buy us, we are for sale. Let me tell you. Reasonable price. We can be bought. I can assure you.
Yeah, we can. Yeah, we can be.
Yeah, for the right price. Come on.
No problem. No problem.
Now, Dan, I know there's a story in here.
I know.
Or are we thinking about the same story?
Oh, we might be.
I don't know. What one are you thinking about?
I'm thinking about Super Smash Bros.
Oh, I knew you were. Look,
yeah.
Because really, I really don't care. But I figured Dan would really want to talk about this, and I think that's fair. And maybe you can explain to me whether or not this is a good thing. I have no idea. I was joking the other day that we, of all the technology-related topics, I think video games is probably the one we talk about the least.
Yeah.
And know the least about.
I like to think.
You know more than I do, certainly. If we have an expert on the show, it's you.
I feel like I'm up on the culture, but I do not. Yeah, I'm not in it. I don't feel like I'm in it anymore.
No, it's not great. And so we'll try and move through this. But you are a big Smash Brothers fan, and the good news is Nintendo announced at E3 that Super Smash Brothers Ultimate will be coming to the Nintendo Switch. The biggest addition to the game is that it will feature every single character from the series' history, a roster of more than 60 fighters, including DLC from the Wii U version, as well.
Including intellectual property from Sony, like Metal Gear Solid and other things that were thought to be a relic of the time. Like, oh, you could only do that in 2007.
Yep.
And they haven't been in the game since. Also back.
They also announced that some of the characters would be updated in terms of how they look and how they play. Link, for example, will now wear his tunic from Breath of the Wild and can wield remote bombs. And Mario will wear Cappy, the sentient hat that was his good friend in Super Mario Odyssey.
Yes.
There will also be new stages, including a new tower from Breath of the Wild and a ramp-filled city scene from Splatoon 2. They also announced
everyone's favorite game.
That the game will support GameCube controllers with the appropriate USB converter attachment.
Yeah.
And the game will be available on December 7th. And what little bit of gamer fans we have in the Twitch chat are very excited. They say, first of all, why are we on Twitch if we rarely talk games? But they also say that they're big fans of the game. They love Kirby and they love all the great Nintendo characters.
Yeah, so I'm a huge Smash fan. I could talk about this forever. But I will only say that I watched this is the only part of E3 I watched live, and I was very excited. Just like, oh my god, when they talked about the GameCube controllers, I was like, oh my god, they think about us. But I watched. So I don't remember who this person was. A famous gamer YouTuber person with millions and millions of views, like recap E3, and when he got to the Nintendo part, he was like, he's kind of a PC gamer, it seemed like, so he didn't care about any of the Nintendo stuff. But the only game he talked about was Super Smash Bros. Not because he cared about it at all, but because he was like, listen, I was watching this whole thing, and I was so excited to see how excited all the Smash fans were for the new Smash game. I wish I could be this excited about anything, and I was so inspired by your passion that I feel like now I have to play it. I have to try it. Like, what are all these people so excited about?
Yep.
And I thought that summed up what happened pretty well, I think.
I mean,
there are a lot of great fan service moments. Directional air dodging, which has come back from my favorite game, enables all sorts of cool things. A lot of like weird details. Someone I saw a post earlier today that, speaking of Link, he is right-handed in like one of the N64 games and left-handed in the other ones. But if you change his like character to the N64 one, the hand switches. And they re-recorded the voices for all these different versions so that they match what it sounded like in that game.
That's awesome.
So yeah, they put a lot of work into it. And what was clear from the presentation, and this is what I think is worth talking about, is this was Nintendo's entire, like, their second half of their E3 presentation was all Smash. And they had a tournament right after with actually good players that they invited and a reasonable-ish like competitive format where it wasn't just like free-for-all with items. And I think, and I'm biased, I think Nintendo's made a big push with like Splatoon and their ARMS to get into esports, which is a big moneymaker, advertisers, you get more people into the game, these pop bonuses, but advertisers I think are probably the big thing.
Yeah.
I think my prediction, Nintendo's making a big push into esports. They have already been. That's not a prediction. They're going to make an even bigger push with Smash. They're going to sponsor tournaments. They're going to have a circuit. They're going to have advertisers. They're going to put out on YouTube Gaming or Twitch with their own first-party advertisements and large pop bonuses. And I predict that Nintendo... I don't predict this yet. I think what Nintendo wants to do, I don't think they'll do it now, is to do the Overwatch thing where they also are in full control of the teams. So they're like, okay, you're on team Dallas Spitfire, which is a team we just made up.
Yep.
You're fully under our control because we want to control every aspect of the competitive experience. And I think that's a very like Apple-y and Nintendo-y way to handle esports is if they, like, kind of like the NFL, they're like, listen, we control this thing top to bottom. We sort of, franchise is the right word in the NFL, right? Like, it's a franchise in McDonald's. You don't get to make any of the rules. You just get to get a cut of the profits. So I think Nintendo might do that at some point. I definitely think that in 2019, they will be hosting their own events. And I think that prediction. Smash will be their number one esports moneymaker because Splatoon hasn't really...
I was going to say, I don't know what else would...
There's already, like, when old Smash games have a tournament without any support, they get into the top 5 most viewed games on Twitch. If Nintendo actually promoted it, they could be that game that gets the number one, gets hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of millions, thousands and millions of views on the days that the big tournaments are, if they wanted to. And I think they do. So that's the big news, I think, out of this, was that Nintendo could have talked about all their great single-player games that they're so good at, and they had a couple of those, but they chose to spend most of the time at the biggest conference talking about Smash in excruciating detail. So that's my big theory.
I mean, hey, look, I really only came for Super Mario Party, but...
also announced?
That's more my speed. But no, what I was going to say is, you do bring up an interesting point, though, that there is a pretty strong Smash community already, with a lot of fan support and a lot of not, quote unquote famous players and strong competition currently. Unlike
a lot of esports, it has the personality thing going for it.
Yeah, it's organic support from the bottom up.
Right, but like, I don't know what a good example of this is, but a stupid example of it is the WWE. Like, you watch professional wrestling, or MMA fighting. how many people are tuning into the Conor McGregor fight to see some like really high level athleticism, and how many people were tuning in because Conor McGregor is insane
Yep.
and runs a really good like social media campaign. And I think a lot of the Smash players are more like that, not as insane, thankfully, but large personalities where they're not just like some quiet kids who are going to sit there in a team of 5 and, destroy people in StarCraft 2. They're going to get up on the mic and talk some shit afterwards. And that's what makes it exciting. And I don't think Nintendo, that'll be the hard part for Nintendo, is embracing that sufficiently.
Well, that's sort of my question that I was leading to, which was, how do you think, assuming your prediction is right, that Nintendo comes in and, using my word, corporatizing it, but certainly legitimatizing it and get it legitimatizing. Listen to me. And getting behind it. Do you think fans will react well to that? Do you think that that's something they would welcome into what they're doing? Nintendo sort of coming in with a bit of a heavy hand?
I don't think Nintendo could come in with much of a heavy hand. I don't think that they'll ban people from running their own tournaments, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Because that ship has already sailed. That would be a disaster.
But they could certainly crush them just from competition alone, I would think. They lure the top couple players with big paychecks.
But again, how many events is Nintendo going to have? There are tournaments almost every weekend that at least one of the good players is at. Those aren't going to go away. Maybe some of the big ones that there are probably 4 or 5 big ones that everyone comes out to every year. Maybe that comes down to 2.
Sure.
But I think that would be a win because the Nintendo ones would, if the only way this would work is if they have a higher payout, because a higher payout means that more people will get involved and stay involved. There are plenty of really good players who've retired because I finished my master's degree and now I have a job. So it's not worth it to make
pay. Yeah.
Even if you make $25,000 a year because you're that good, it's it's only $25,000 a year. And I was listening to this one player say today that he won't play. That's where I got this idea from. He used to be the number 1 in the most recent Smash game. He will not play the new Smash game unless Nintendo sponsors, because he's I made $30,000-$40,000 a year. I practiced for 12 hours a day, every day for 3 years, and I made a total of less than $100,000. And I was number 1. Never mind, the number 2 and 3 people were probably working just as hard. So I think Nintendo has to come in with more money, and I think if they did come in, they would. So that's if they did do that, they're not going to have 10 tournaments a year. They're going to have, I'm going to guess 2,
sure,
max 4.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Yeah. Let the lower,
especially if they do a seasonal thing. I think if they do a season, it'll be 2. They'll have your first half of the year, second half of the year, culminating in some thing.
Yep. No, I'm with you. I think it's exciting. And
I'm really excited to see the Nintendo take on what a really high production value event could be. I think they could fill a lot. The problem with a lot of these tournaments is it's really boring until the very end, or there's a couple exciting upsets. But then the rest of the time, I'm okay, I'm watching another match. Okay, I'm watching another match.
Sure.
And I think Nintendo could bring up interviews and other cool things like they do in real sports that could be exciting. So, anyways, I said I could talk about this forever, and I talked way too long. That's my big theory. Smash. I think Nintendo tried to make Splatoon happen, and they gave it a good shot, and I don't think it's really taking off. I think they're going to do the same for Smash, but I think it will take off, and then they'll start this flywheel of Nintendo investing more.
Well, it certainly seems like a game that that fans will really like. Really speaks to, I know some of the more recent Smash games haven't been as well received as some of the older ones, so I think this one was really, seems anyway, to be crafted for I don't want to say the hardcore fans, but certainly
better.
The less than casual, more than casual fans, I should say.
I think they struck a good balance.
Great.
I'm excited for people I know. So here's the other thing I'm really excited about. Okay, I'm going off again. But there are more Switches than there are GameCubes or Wii U's, I think, in total.
Oh, totally.
So there will be more people playing Smash in a year than there have ever been playing Smash in total before.
Oh, so much more
And
accessible.
that's really exciting, right? Like,
Yep.
I will know people who play Smash that never even heard of it today, a year from now.
Yep.
So that's pretty cool.
Awesome. Well, we'll keep an eye. Like I said, coming out December 7th. I'm sure you will be first in line to pick up your copy.
Sean, I could buy an e-scooter at Best Buy for $200. It's 30% off.
Yeah, but think of how much money you would save if you just grabbed a scooter off the street and then used it and then just left it wherever you wanted.
This thing where's the motor on it? I have so many questions.
Yeah, just make sure you can identify where the cryptocurrency
do we have, like,
mining is.
Right. You got to rip that out. Do we have a sort of slush fund on this show that I can use to purchase this, test it out with, take
Dan,
the e-scooter challenge?
It's so slushy you can't have access to it.
It's frozen. Are you telling me that my assets are frozen?
Yeah, they're trapped somewhere between the Cayman Islands and Switzerland. So
It's the
slushiest of
the
funds.
double Dutch McBreakfast sandwich.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Makes sense. I mean, that's just fiduciary responsibility.
But Dan, you go ahead. You purchase the scooter and then submit your receipts, and we'll see about maybe getting it approved. I don't guarantee anything.
Okay.
I think
that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah. Sweet. All right. Well, we are more or less out of time, so we're going to move on to picks, and we got a couple good books for folks out there to read. I'm going to go first because I think mine will be a little quicker than yours. We do, over on the Up for Debate podcast I do with Matt, we do a book club where a couple times a year we read a book and talk about it on the show, and we picked a book. It's right up Dan's alley, or Matt's alley. Not really my alley, but we read it anyway. It's called The Last Wish, and it is the first book in the series that the video game The Witcher is based on. Written by a Polish author in Polish, then translated to English. I will warn everybody, the first two books in the series are a collection of short stories. I did not know that going in. You'll enjoy that in the episode. And then the third book kicks in the narrative. Pretty good book. It actually wasn't too bad. I'm not a big fantasy guy, so I'm not going to say I personally loved it, but I think someone who was a bit more into fantasy than me would really like it. I thought it was reasonably well written, and the characters were interesting, and the premise of it I absolutely loved, and that's why I'm excited to go try the video game. So, The Last Wish, available in paperback wherever books are sold. Check that out.
I'm excited. I have not read the book, so I really want to.
Yeah, it's really
to my list.
It's a quick read too. It's not like the font's a good size. It's a quick read, so it should be good. And I know Matt was a big fan. And if people want to listen to that episode, they can hear it at upfordebate.tv. It's out now, so read the book and then listen. Now, Dan, you've got a heck of a book here.
Yeah, so when I was in Portland, in one day I started and finished this book called Bad Blood about Theranos, which was, like, going into this book, I was like, Theranos was a bad company. There was some woman there who's the CEO. She was from Stanford, the university. That was all I knew. And this reminded me a lot of books that Sean has recommended to me in the past, like the Twitter book and the Amazon book. But this one ends in disaster. And it's sort of, this is a book where I'm pretty sure in the first couple pages they sort of lay out what happens, and then it's all about how you got there, and then just, like, seeing the decisions that these people make of, like, well, we'll bend the rules this way, and we'll keep bending that rule, and we'll keep bending it, and we'll keep bending it, and before you know it, you're, like, so far off. Plus, the venture capitalists. This was my big, how it really blows a hole in this whole venture capitalist system that such a terrible company, not in terms of ethics, although yes, also in terms of ethics, but just in terms of ability to execute and transparency and honesty, could get that much money from investors. It's like, well, what? This is just a money fountain. Then you just go up to the money fountain like a dog, like, and you just suck down as much money as you can and call it quits. Going from 800 employees to, last I checked, which was 2 weeks ago, 24. Looks like it now might be 23. Crazy. So really good read. It's not. I don't know how long it was because I was reading on Kindle and I was reading all day long. It didn't seem that long, but I really did like it. And Sean, I think you'll like it a lot.
I am legitimately very excited. As I was telling you before we started the show, I saw the great 60 Minutes piece on it, and you're watching it, and you're like, How is this even? Well, first of all, just watching video of the the founder and then her boyfriend, husband. I don't know quite. Yeah, what's going on with that? They seem very suspicious. So already I'm like, that's not right. But this sounds a lot like The Smartest Guys in the Room, which was the book on Enron. Which, by the way, if people haven't read, that's a great read as well.
I also read that, yep.
And that was a treat. So, I'm very excited. Bad Blood, Secrets and Lies in a Silicon Valley Startup, written by the man who broke the story for the Wall Street Journal, I believe, before anyone knew anything was wrong. So, quite sweet. Check that out. We'll have links to both books on our website. Go click through them there, because then we get something like 5 cents in referral money. And that goes right to the slush fund. So
that goes right to my
help
e-scooter.
buy Dan his e-scooter and pick up these books today using our referral link on the website at don'tpanic.io. On the website are also all of our past episodes, the audio, the video. Of course, I said the pics. And be sure to subscribe to the show. It's the best way to get it every week when it comes out. You can get it on Apple Podcasts and Overcast, anywhere you get podcasts, also on YouTube, the video version, youtube.com/don'tpanicshow. And, of course, you can reach out and contact us at Don't Panic Show on Twitter and don'tpanicshow@gmail.com. Gosh, Dan, is there anything else you'd like to say before we... you will not be here next week. Enjoy your trip to the West Coast.
Thank you. I will probably be here the week after that.
The week after that is 4th of July week. My
flight gets in that afternoon, so barring any travel situations, I will not wear my favorite sweatpants. Smart. And maybe it'll go more smoothly.
Yeah, what you got to get is those punk jeans that are just all zippers. Just say fuck you.
I need the tearaway. They walk up sure, take your shoes off. I'm take my shoes off. I just rip all my pants off entirely, throw them in the bin. Let's just get this over with.
They're gonna. Are you a professional stripper?
Do you have anything in your pockets? I'll be no. I don't have pockets.
God, I would love to see the TSA detain you for that. That would be great. Don't cross airport security. Not a great plan. But
anyways, I won't put this on recording.
Very smart. But thanks everybody for joining us. I will be back next week with Colby for more tech news and good times, and Dan will eventually be back. Thanks for joining us. We will see you next time for more tech news and great adventures here on Don't Panic.